Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to our poets. That was beautiful readings that we all enjoyed very much. And I have the privilege this evening of introducing our two distinguished authors, both of whom are dear people in my lives, one for a very long time and one more recently. And I just decided that I want to share with you a quick personal story about how I learned about their work, in hopes that it will open you even more this evening to hearing their important messages for a time like this that we're in. In my early 20s, I was teaching in San Diego. I did not even have my teaching credential. I was interning, which meant I had my classroom, and yet I really wasn't qualified. So I was just making it work. And I had a literacy administrator walk into my room one day and throw a book at me and say, "You need to read this book this week with your class because the author's coming next week, and we need people to have read the book." And my sort of rebellious nature was at first like, excuse me, you can't give me just a week's notice to read a book and expect me to be able to do that. But I saw the book, and it was called Walking Stars, and I just couldn't get the title out of my head, so I took that book home. And the night that I took the book home, it was an afternoon when I arrived at home, and I sat down and I thought, all right, I'm just gonna start reading this book. And I opened it, and then all of a sudden I realized that it was dark. I was reading, really straining with my eyes on the book. And I literally finished the book that night. I stayed up late into the night, I couldn't put it down. And even though the book was talking about people that had nothing to do with me and my ancestry and my life, I felt as though the book was speaking deeply to my soul. And so I took that book back to school the next day, and I told my students, we're gonna put on hold the things we're currently working on, and we're gonna read a book. And we started reading that book together. And I had students that year who were really struggling with English acquisition. They had been really beaten up by school systems and a lot of the unhealthy things that can happen in certain schools. And they started reading this book, Walking Stars, and we laughed and we cried, and we felt like every single one of us was having this book directly to pluck at our own souls. And the next week, we welcomed Victor Villaseñor into the auditorium, and we were the only class that had actually listened to the literacy administrator. And so in addition to hearing him speak to an audience saying beautiful, brilliant, and sometimes shocking things, getting the students to laugh and just feel seen, some of them for the first time ever in school. We then got to spend time with just Victor, me and my 25 students who were in a literacy block for 3 hours with me every day because their skills in English were struggling. That year was one of the most beautiful years in teaching of my entire career. It was my first year. And it was beautiful because of this man and his work. And every single year teaching beyond that point, I used his books. And I just want you to know, if you want a book that will restore your faith in humanity, pick up any book by Victor Villaseñor and be ready for something spectacular. So I'm so grateful that he's here this evening to reach your hearts and your souls the way he did mine in my early 20s. So thank you, Victor, for being here. You're truly a blessing.